performance has pleased you the most? That's a slight worry.
It's not because I can't think of one. There's a few. But I think that the best team that we played at home, I think, is probably Doncaster Rovers. I think the way that they played. I think away from home, it's probably Burton Albion. Because of the way they play. So to beat Donny was a really good effort, really good result at the end of October. And the performance against Burton was reasonable. It was reasonable in terms of the way that they play and the way we set up. The disappointing thing was we didn't sort of get 5-10 yards further up the pitch to go and engage them and cause them a few more problems. So. I think probably Donny Rovers at home has been a really good, but there's been others as well. I mean, Peterborough was a good performance, really. It looked like 2 points dropped until the last minute of the game, and then really to get the goal when we did, show character, but it's still disappointing because we only got the point. But there have been some good performances. The Southend game away from home, Charlton Athletic away from home, sort of the last 20-25 minutes was good. But the whole display against Charlton was a decent performance. Some good teams in the division.
So Mark, in terms of, is it frustrating, is it worrying that, to be honest, we've come into this league and I don't think any team's really, been taking us apart, and we've actually bossed quite a few games. Is that a worry that we haven't, put more teams to bed?
It's a worry. Yeah, I don't say a worry. I just think that we need to find a way. We need to find a way, and the players we brought in need to settle down. So, the likes of Connor Chaplin and Bakioko's not played as much. Johnson Clark-Harris has played in a different role. We know he's not laden with goals. So, yeah, we need to find goals from elsewhere. But I've got to find that way. We've got to find that little magic ingredient if we can do, and change things up a little bit.
Right, I've got a question here.
I think we need a 20-goal season goal scorer. What do you reckon about Mark Minotti coming back on loan?
Blimey.
I can't afford him now. I think he's done his bit. He did his bit for us. I think that we are looking to improve. We're looking to recruit in certain areas, and certainly we need to score more goals, because I think out of at home we've scored 4 goals from open play, which isn't good enough. So for the amount of chances we create during games and the football that we play, although some of it's been really good and easy on the eye and enjoyable to watch, we've got to be more ruthless in that final third. But that is something that comes with time and practice, and the players that have come in obviously getting used to playing the regular games and the regular minutes they're getting at the level.
I was looking at the league table, Mark.
Yeah. Just switch on the top, I think.
Is that better? I was looking at the league table. I think we've taken points off 5 of the top 7 sides. Are you aware of that when you look at the league table and think, well, we're clearly doing something right, it's just 1 or 2 things maybe need to slot into place? So we're taking points off the big teams.
The more important thing is, if we win on Saturday, I think we're in advance of the points at the same stage as we were last year. So that's more important. And I think that being, we were looking a few games ago now. You're looking at if you could get to 37 points at this stage, 38 points at the turn, at 23 games, then you're on track for a good season and a crack at getting into the playoffs. We've just fallen off that a little bit, but again, win on Saturday and we're ahead in points total than we were last year. So, we're still doing things right. Just there's some good teams, some good players at the level. So yeah, we're busy. We're looking at how we're going to keep creating chances, but having players in positions that are going to convert those chances more often. So yeah, there'll be some tweaks, there'll be some changes, and obviously then moving forward, we're looking at recruitment, and we've had a long meeting today with the recruitment lads as to what we're looking to do both in January and next season, both ways, ins and outs, and what we can do to try and improve it as quickly as we possibly can.
I think we had Chris who came on with the recruitment. He came to one of the previous meetings. That meeting statement, how's that work? Will he say, right, well, we've got 3 players earmarked so that you may have already spoken about, or are there players that you've said to him today, can you go away and see if this player can potentially?
Well, they come to me, we'll talk regularly. I talk to him every day. You know, both him and Stuart, and they've obviously got a couple of scouts that are there. We're looking to try and improve that and make it, you know, more coverage, which means we need to recruit more people because it's early. You know, it's still in its infancy. We've still got lads that have just started, so 12 months. Really, then Tommy Witherington left and we brought Chris in. Chris has been in less than 12 months. He's had one transfer window. You know, so we're looking at what we can do, what we might be able to do, the players that he's talking about. So we've had more of an in-depth meeting today. And the areas, obviously, lads are out of contract. Lads, I think Andy Turner kindly pointed out he was out of contract yesterday. So, you know, we're aware of what may happen, what might not. So there's contingencies, there's you know, we try and cover all the bases as much as we possibly can do and get players lined up whilst talking to the representatives, you know, lining them up, are they interested, are they not interested, can we pursue that, can we afford them, you know, and will they make a difference ultimately. So, yeah, we're well on the way to that, whilst also looking at other avenues, and Dave's obviously been part of the meeting today, and we're looking at trying to bring people in below that first team tier as well, some players that can sort of make that step up, but we're still doing that at the moment because we're still not quite right underneath. You know, we've still got that succession plan's got to be right, and we're getting there, but it's slow, you know, it's a slow process, but rather that than make too many mistakes.
Thanks. Anyone got a question? Typical, right at the back. I'm waiting. Mark, would you reckon I mean, the thing is, you came here 18 months ago, and the club, in terms of the playing staff, was a bit of a mess, wasn't it? Really, the team had gone down, and you know, to go up at the first time of asking, you get Pompey, it took them 5 years. So, in terms of building, you know, with 9th in the league, I mean, I personally think that's absolutely fantastic. If you consider where we were 18 months ago, so you got out of the league first time. How many transfer windows? And it is windows. How many windows would you reckon? You know, before you can start saying, yeah, okay, you know, we've sort of found our feet here to move on to the next level.
We know we need more goals if we can get the right ones in now. Because what we've done is, what we have to do here is, you know, I keep repeating myself, so apologies for that, but it is exactly how we have to recruit. We've got to get players in with a value. So we've got to bring them in, play them, try and develop them, to get that value into them to sustain us. You know, so that's the recruitment model. That's the model that the club has, and that's the only one we can run. So alongside that, if we have some success, if we have windfalls, if we sell people, if we can do that in the right way, then I can start to invest some of that money into players that are ready-made that can then take us to that next level. And that's starting to rear its head. So it takes time. That's the bit of time. So transfer windows, I don't know. It might be the next one. You know, it might be the summer transfer window where we can finally get a squad together that we think, right, okay, this can give us a real good attempt at getting up to the championship.
Right, I've got a question here from Will.
After the recent cup success, so obviously the Checker Trade and getting to the 5th round of the FA Cup last season, was it like a big disappointment to go out of every cup competition this season in the first round, or is it a double-edged sword that you can now concentrate on the league a little bit more?
No, it's always disappointing. You know, that wasn't the aim, clearly. What we did was, with the Checker Trade, wanted to try and give those younger players a bit of an airing and see where they're at with their development. You know, it would have been easy for me to go and say, right, there's a first team, let's go and try and... But that doesn't solve any of our problems moving forward. You know, some of those players needed a rest. They had 3 weeks, 5 days off in the summer. So some of those lads need time to recover properly, because, you know, contrary to some people's belief that it isn't just an hour and a half. You know, there's a lot of work goes into things, and they need a breather. So at times, mentally, physically, they need to come out of the team. They need to have a rest and just use that cup competition. Certainly, the FA Cup was different because we gave 2 stupid goals away. We had 1 or 2 injuries in key positions during the last sort of 5-6 games where it's, you know, stuttered that momentum that we were building. Thankfully, nearly everybody's back and fit and training, and you know, that should give us the best possible outcomes. And yeah, against Walsall, we fought back to the 2-2, and then had that been a league game, we can do things slightly differently because it's a cup game and we were trying to go and win it from that position. You end up getting done on a counter-attack, and the lads had a shot and buried it in the top corner, which from their point of view was a really good goal, really good strike. From our point of view it was lax, it was poor, but we worked hard in the game to try and get through. I think the support was outstanding again, apart from getting on the pitch. Try not to do that this week. So, you know, that for me was a disappointment, the FA Cup. And, yeah, you know, it gives us the lead to post because we've got no alternatives now. But clearly the FA Cup run last year was brilliant, and I think it gave us a lift and at the right time. I think this year's slightly different, you know, where we've gone up a level again. Some of the players that have played only in League Two have made that step up. It's the first time and they're just finding the feet a little bit. You know, so it generally is good for them. It's given what it has done. It's given us time to be able to give them 4 or 5 days off this week. So after the Fleetwood game, getting back in the early hours of the morning, they've had 4 or 5 days off this week just to recharge and come back. And in fairness, just looking at them in training this week, that seems to have worked. They look brighter in their eyes and bright in terms of taking information in, because, you know, ultimately that's what you want. You want them learning all the time. And they were doing that to start with, and then we hit a plateau, and that's sort of signs of we starting to fatigue a little bit. You know, some of them are young, some of them haven't played at the level consistently as they have, you know, been given the opportunity to do. Some haven't played yet. You know, we've signed some good players in the summer, and they haven't had that opportunity yet. But again, you know, we've got to tweak things and try and change things around a little bit to get people in the best positions to keep creating chances, but to take those chances when we get there. So, you know, that's the aim. Recruitment-wise, we're in a position now where we know exactly what we need to do and try and go and get those deals over the line when we can do.
I think you could. Luke Thomas has been a player that's been standout performer quite a few weeks in a row. How confident are you keeping him on for the rest of the season?
Well, you know, clearly that depends on Derby and Derby's circumstances. You know, we're hopeful. You know, I think the lad's enjoying himself. He's enjoying playing every week, and you know, he's another one you look at, and you know, he's one that's not played at the level consistently as he is doing here, and he's still got to learn. You know, because we don't want him to be a one-trick pony. So there's things we'll do with him this week, things we'll do with him tomorrow before the game that will make a difference to his game if he can take it on board. And that'll ultimately determine whether he makes the step up with Derby County or not, if he can take the information and then reproduce it on a match day. But what he does for us is he works his socks off. You know, he'll go forward, he'll run back, he'll tackle back, he'll get into good positions. What he's doing at the minute is he's doing the same things and coming in and they're just blocking his path off, so he's got to change things slightly for himself to make it easier. And then lend it to the teammates to help them, so there's giving goals, there's balls into the far post, into the box. And if he can add those things to his game, then you know, he'll be even bigger threat than he is.
Yeah, first got a question here. The kid with the new top on.
So I take it the reports that were in some newspapers this week about Luke Thomas being recalled to Derby was false then?
Well, he hasn't yet because he's been in training this week.
It was in some papers this week.
Yeah, at the moment they've not made a decision on it yet. You know, we're in regular contact with them. I was just sat listening to the head of recruitment talking to Derby County or his counterpart today, and there was nothing sort of good, nothing bad. You know, most of it was positive, so it was all positive really. So yeah, we just carry on and do what we did. But that's, you know, we took him in for 6 months and everybody was happy with that at the time, and we'll look to try and do something and extend it. But again, it's Derby's prerogative really.
Yeah, Mark, I wouldn't worry. Matt, you know, the sport, that's not really, you know, they don't tell the truth. Yeah, I mean, the kind of papers he reads, Mark, I wouldn't worry too much about. Don't get worried about what does he know anything. He knows sod all.
Mark, can I ask you about sort of players who return back to training this week? So Dujon's back on the field as well, Jordan's back on the field as well. I think a lot of us were pleased to see Jody back on the pitch, but I'm very worried about the fact that he was off against Peterborough. Have you got any update for us on Jody's situation and players who come back this week?
Yeah, Jody's news isn't good. We just sort of waited. He had a scan done and it was inconclusive, so we gave him sort of a week, 10 days to recover. Hopefully the swelling goes down a little bit, but there's still a little bit of laxity in his knee. He's down in London today speaking to a specialist down there. He's had another CT scan done today. They'll review that. Then they'll decide what they're going to do, whether they go in with an exploratory operation just to see the extent of the damage, and with an eye to, if there's major damage there, to re-repair. So we're still inconclusive, but it may be that worst case scenario it might be redoing the injury, redoing the operation that he had last year. Best case scenario is that we're going to go in and have a look, and it's not as bad as they think, and he won't be that long out. But we're hoping for the best, but they're in the worst with that at the moment.
Yeah, folks, got a question here at the bar. Says it'll be very good or very bad.
Yeah, Mark, last season one of the hallmarks was two kids coming through from the academy really making a mark, Tom Bayliss and Jordan Shipley. We haven't really seen that this year in terms of young players from the academy stepping up. Who do you think we might look for maybe second half of the season or into next season as breakthrough players?
Well, a lot of those players have been given opportunity in the checker trade. So we were seeing where they were, and they're still a little bit away from where we need to be. Last year was slightly different. We had some injuries. They were ready to step up and took the chance and took it brilliantly. And really, those are the barometer for everybody else. The chances are there, but they've got to step up. And the big thing for me is that they've got to be ready and able to take their opportunity. If they're not, then it's just me giving them an opportunity in a team at the wrong time, and it's counterproductive. So at the moment, there's a lot of training going on. We've done a lot of work really, because we're skeleton staff. We were skeleton staff anyway. We've changed things around a little bit. Both Dave and I are trying to move things forward in a big way with a holistic approach in terms of all things that we're doing in terms of well-being, lifestyle, health, and mental health, motivation, all those types of things. We're trying to pull things together just to make sure there's a holistic approach so everybody's looked after, mentally and physically, and strength and concentration and all those things which we'll pull together into a programme that we'll look to implement. So that's something for us to get our teeth into at the moment, and it's going to take a little bit of time to try and roll that out, but hopefully we'll be able to do that, and I'm looking forward to that. There are other things that are happening as well alongside the training programme which will be a benefit for everybody, and that will be a big help in terms of trying to bring everybody through to be at the best that they can possibly be, the best level, and then we'll see who can come through, who's ready to come through, who's not. But there's some good players in the academy. There's still some good players in them. They're just going to be a year or 2 or 2.5 years away. They're still 17, 16, 15, 18. They're still young boys. And with where we're at the moment in League One and trying to push as high as we possibly can do, we've got to make sure that they're ready to go in to give us that push when needed. We can't do too much too soon. So we're still looking to get the best team together. And some of the lads, we've found a way of winning games. We've got to redo that, rethink that, and make it better again. So that's nothing new. That's nothing new, because teams work you out. They find out where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. We've got to try and work on those and make sure that the weaknesses aren't as weak and the strengths get stronger. So that's what we're doing at the minute. It's just different phases of the season. So it might look a bit different personnel, different people, different ideas, similar way of playing. Not changing the philosophy or anything. We still want to pass the ball, still want to try and do that as much as we can, because we're not bad at it. We've just got to get better and better, and there's no point flip-flopping from one style to another style. We've got to set that pathway, because that in itself, when we talk about a holistic approach, that works for the recruitment team as well, because they can see what we're doing when they're looking at players and go, yeah, he'll fit in. Talk to me about how we want to play and what we're going to do in certain positions, and they're fully aware of that. And it's it's working nicely at the moment, and we've still got those players to support coming through, whereas we're not pushing them and rushing them. We can take the time in doing it and not get an opportunity because they think they deserve one, but they'll get one when they actually do deserve one and they're ready to make the step up.
Right, folks, have a question here. Ready? Go for it.
You know the performance against the FA Cup third round. What did you think of it when Grimmer scored that second goal?
A long time ago, I can't remember.
Well, trust me, Mark, Jack does remember.
And he didn't know he's forgotten that one.
Yeah.
So it's like the Wembley one.
Oh yeah, of course, that's another
So
goal.
he's not
Yeah.
bothered about the third round. It was the one at Wembley.
Yeah.
He talks about it now. It was a good performance, really good performance. Because even though Stoke were having a bad time at that moment, and they were really ripe for a giant killing. Do you call it a giant killing? Obviously, 3 weeks apart. Then it was a good performance, but some good goals. Obviously, Willis's header was a good header, and decent set play goal, and Jack going forward, getting a nosebleed and hitting that when he dropped his shoulder. It was a really good goal, but again, the Wembley one was better.
Walsall Saturday, club you know very well, chance for you to get bragging rights over one of your teammates on team.
Yeah, there's always that, and I think we'll take a good forward again, which is always brilliant. And we look forward to it really, because obviously we've just gone out of the FA Cup there a few weeks ago, so that's raw. And we want to try and get 3 points on the board, because I think last 6 league games it's 1-2, drawn 2, lost 2. We want to try and get some more points on the board as quickly as we can do to try and get up to, like I was saying, that 36, 37 points, 35, 36, 37. I think we're really being
wrong where we are last season, aren't we? So
I think we're 1 or 2 points behind where we were. So if we win on Saturday, then obviously we go above that. So that that in itself is a motivation.
Yeah, Mark, just go back to the game against Stoke. We said it before, Marquis put the ball in for that one goal that he scored, and then you got him the sack. I mean, bloody hell, that was a tough one, wasn't it?
Has he just been sacked again?
He's been sacked again, yeah. He just loves getting sacked usually, doesn't he? Anyway, folks, any more questions? There we go. Now, I'll ask you a question in a minute about your career, mate, because some of these youngsters don't realise that they used to play. Seriously?
We should have some videos. Do you know what videos are?
Well, actually, we do, because his dad's got some, but not those kind of videos. Yeah, you know. Go on, Joffrey.
What do you think of Steve Evans?
Is there any going to do that?
No, no. He's all right.
We should leave that there.
Absolutely.
Guys, you got a question from the stage?
Ollie, this season we've picked up quite a few points from losing or drawing positions. How important has that been?
Yeah, it's important because it shows character. So they've kept going, and I think it's important because we've spoken about scenarios and scenarios during training, and I think teams sometimes will revert to smashing the ball long if they're a goal behind, and we're just emphasising about keep maintaining the way that we play, because we create chances even if we're a goal down. Just keep doing that, building pressure. Last season they didn't understand that. The first part of the season, the second half of the season it got better, and this season they've done that a lot better, and got themselves consequently got ourselves back into a winning position or a drawing position from losing one. So there's some good signs. There are some good signs. We've been playing some good football at times. Like I say, ultimately we've got to try and convert more of our chances more often.
The centre-back position, obviously you've got Donny Hyde here tonight as well, obviously Jordan Murphy this season as well. You've got 3 players who sort of rotating completely for those 2 positions. Is every game different now when you think about the 2 that you're going to start with? Obviously not going to say you're going to start Saturday, but you've got 3 players completely for 2 positions effectively.
Yeah, and I want more. We need more. So Jordan Thompson's been in, and that's another one obviously we've given a chance to this season. And Jordan's actually done all right in some games, and like young players are, they're up and down in terms of the performances. So the Walsall, the FA Cup game, he made a mistake. He's got to learn from that. But that's the nature of what we do. We give young players a chance. They're not guaranteed to to react in a way that you'd expect them to, and sometimes it just gets a little bit too much for them. But ultimately, he's shown that he's at a decent level. Needs obviously to improve, so that's another thing we'll look at what happens with him in the second half of the season. But yeah, I've got three centre halves to choose from. Hopefully, we can get some more business done when it's possible, to give more competition and to try and improve the position all the time, because that's the aim. So they've got to keep improving. People come in, it might be better, we might feel that they're better than them with better attributes, but then it's up to them to step up and take their and take the chance and make sure that they. Tom does that. Tom Davis does that. I think if you speak to Tom Davis and set him a challenge, he will 100% try and meet the challenge, and he'll do that head on. And he's just a good kid, just a really good kid, and works hard, and he's aggressive, limited in terms of his distribution, because we try and emphasise that, but he's trying his best to improve on that, which he is doing. Dominic's slightly different, more comfortable on the ball, a lot more laid back. Jordan Willis quicker, not as good on the ball. So you've got different attributes for the different centre halves, and you just try and match that up to it against the opponents that they're due to be playing against.
Right, I've got a couple of questions on the floor.
Cheers, Mark. Do you believe the jigs on being classed as player a manager of the month?
I do now. No, I don't honestly. I think it's you look at the wins we had, the way we were playing. Some of those games we could have drawn, some of those games we could have lost. We didn't. We ended up winning them. It was fantastic. Great character for that month. The amount of effort that they put into it obviously had a knock-on in November. November was a tough month for us, and we're trying to make changes in terms of the cup competitions, which we've spoken about. Didn't have positive results from it, but it gave those players a chance to have a bit of a breather, and hopefully second half of the season coming into Christmas, and obviously going into the second half of the season, hopefully that'll stand us in good stead, and we'll have a really good and positive second half.
But it seemed to be, after you named it, you see there are injuries in the players, and
yeah, I mean, if you're that way inclined and you're thinking about, superstition, and you can look back on it now, and hindsight's brilliant. You can look at it and go, yeah, it was definitely a jinxed trophy to win. And let's not bother winning it again.
So Mark, you could always post it to Nathan Jones at Luton, because he was desperate to win it, wasn't he? Talk about sour grapes. Just post it to him.
I heard about that. My staff were in my office when I came in, and they went, "Do you know what Nathan Jones said?" Not interested.
Not happy, was it? Rob, we got another question here. Rob.
Yes. Right, for me, Lee Burge has been our best player this season, been outstanding for most of the year, and he's one of a number of players that are out of contract in the summer. How much of a concern is it that we might lose him either then or in January if a bid comes in, and are there offers on the table for those players?
Well, look, it's like a lot of things in life, really. You've got no control over it, and he'll have his own mind. I haven't spoken to him about it. All I want him to do is carry on doing what he's doing, do his job, and then we'll cross the bridge when we need to come to it. There's no point pushing it. He's not come to me, not asked for anything, not said anything. You can draw conclusions from it if you want to, but for me, you're right. It's performing at a really good level, so hopefully we can improve as well, and we'll see where it takes us. Ultimately, you've got to want to stay at the end of it. If not, then we shake his hand, thank him for all the work he's done, and we move on. If he signs a contract, all well and good.
Right, folks, any more questions? Oh, we got one here. Oh, two. Tea's getting cold, Mark.
Salad.
Mark, can you give us an update on the reseller Sami? Because we didn't see much of the start of the season and he went off on loan.
Yeah, Reece is he's back with us. So he's been out at Ebbsfleet and he's played 1 or 2 games. He came back in between that because he was injured. So he was just getting into a level where he can make a contribution. He could be a really good player for us later on down the line. At this moment in time, we're just trying to get him up to speed. So he's coming in, he's training with the 23s latterly because he's just come back into the building. He spent probably 3 weeks back in here with an Achilles problem. So all the injuries set you back, you know, because you want to try and build some momentum to try and get the training into them, to try and bring them forward. That hasn't quite happened yet for him, but that's not to say that it won't in the future. There's no rush. There's no rush for that. You know, what we've done is we're trying to bring players in with a layer of players that are under the first team squad that we think that we might be able to try and bring through. So you know, there's development in him, and hopefully he can get to the level that he needs to be at.
Right, first a question from Tyler. Mark, have you seen the trainers on him?
Yeah, they remind me of Connor Chaplin's.
I've got a question for Emma. In terms of going into the Christmas period, obviously it's a time when we all get to sit in front of the telly and watch football, but you tend to be having no holiday whatsoever. It's a busy time for you, the staff and the players. When you're looking at the fixture list and the teams that are coming, how are you sort of approaching? Are you thinking, right, well, we've just got to get through this, or you've seen that as an opportunity where you can pick up some points over Christmas?
No, Christmas is brilliant, because it's brilliant for the fans, and it's great for us ultimately. You know, you've got people coming out in big numbers to watch it because it's part of our tradition. You know, that's why we don't have a winter break at the moment, because people demand that we, you know, it's what we've always done. We want to go and watch it. When people turn around and say, actually, we need a winter break because we're fed up of football over Christmas, then that's when it'll change. So for us, no, it's business as usual. I was saying I'm going to give them Christmas Day off. Gave them Christmas Day off last year. We lost 1-0 at Port Vale. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it. But the work will get into them on the match day -2, and they'll be ready to play. I think we've got players that are living sort of here, there, and everywhere, and it's generally counterproductive to get them in from those distances. Then spend the day with the family and do a little bit of work and not eat too much and 3 portions of chips with the turkey and you know, Christmas pudding and things like that. So they've got to make sure that they eat a sensible meal ready for the game on Boxing Day. Charlton are a good team.
So just going back to the injury update, can we have a quick update on Maxi? Because we haven't really had much more on him.
Yeah, Max is cheeky. He's doing really well. He's working his socks off. So he had his operation done 3 months ago. So he's got 6 months. Just said to him the other day, so 6 months will go pretty quickly. Well, I hope so, because the first 3 months haven't. He's been on to France. He's had a bit of a break, see his family over in France, but he's working his socks off in the gym. There's only so much you can do with that injury, because what happens is that, you know, the tendon turns to a ligament, or the ligament turns to a tendon, and that's why it takes so long to recover from. We would take the hamstring or part of the hamstring tendon, put it into the knee. So that's what takes the time for that process to happen. In younger players, you know, it takes even longer, which is, you know, possibility of the younger you are when you have that injury, the more chance you've got of it reoccurring. So it's a really tricky injury to have, which is why, you know, years and years ago, it's a career ender, that one. Thankfully, you know, medical science has improved enough to give everybody an opportunity to come back from it, and as we've seen that they, you know, we can do.
Mark, so just to say about Maxi, Maxi's keeping fit. He's got himself a girlfriend. He texted me last night, it's a true story. I said to him when he got injured, is there anything that we can do for you, Maxi? He said, if you get me a girlfriend. I don't know what job he thinks I do, but I cannot sort that out. But he told me last night he's got himself a girlfriend. He's keeping himself busy, mate. He's keeping fit, okay? So, no need to worry there. I'll just throw Maxi under the bus there.
Yeah. Keep my eye on that one.
With the knee injuries, I've got one of the things I would think about. I know we've been incredibly unlucky as a club with the amount of knee injuries, but there seems to be a lot of knee injuries. Is that just the nature of the game today? Do you think that?
Somebody's done one at Bournemouth today. You know, I think generally you hear of them every week now. You know, it's just the speed of the game. The speed of the game. The amount of twisting and turning we ask them to do, the movement of the ball, the speed that the ball moves at now, the reaction time. You know, all those things come into play. Yes, pitches, boots, you know, have you worked hard enough? Have we given you the right work to do? You know, we've looked at that, you know, at the same time, you know, twisting and turning. So if you run in at top speed and then stop suddenly, you've got to train that. because that's something that you can, so eccentric work, so you're working against the muscle, the natural way that things move. If you look at Jodie's injury, he's put a cross in, his foot slid and then stopped, and the top of his body was moving, so that's an indication that something's not quite right, and fell and twisted. So that's always something you've got to look for, but the speed of the movements of the players and the speed of the movement of the ball is definitely a contributory factor.
Folks, any more questions? Mark, just say about leaders on the pitch. The thing is, it's still quite a quiet team, isn't it? Obviously, we hear a place like Walsall, where you're very, very close to the pitch, and you hear there's not many talkers. I mean, you have one or two. You have Doyle does a bit of talking. Are you looking for players in January that are going to be a bit more leaders on the pitch? I don't know. Are you happy with that?
Difficult to find, honestly. I think it's probably, everybody's got mobile phones now, and if you sit there and you look at the mobile phone, everybody does it, and it just takes away from conversation. So I've banned mobile phones from the training ground, and they have to talk to each other. And you look at that, I go in the room, you're sure. If I walk out the room, they'll be talking about all sorts of things, probably about me and calling me names and things. But they talk, you can listen to them, and the way that they talk and the camaraderie amongst them is really good. I think what happens when you get to levels, you talk about levels, is when you're comfortable in your level, then you can start to understand other people's positions, and you can help them and you can talk, and there are talkers within the team, but there's also people that you get on the pitch and you're focused on your job, and if you're focused on your job and that's the only thing that you can do, because that's as much as capacity as you have, it takes away from the talking bit. Now, I'd rather them work hard and understand each other's jobs and do those jobs and work and help each other, rather than being a shouty team, because sometimes they shout things and it isn't quite right. But that's all part of this, the training and the programme that I'm looking to try and implement, where people are comfortable. So you go back to the Bristol Rovers game, and that was a joke game. It was just a strange game, because we could have been 3-0 up. We ended up being 3-0 down. You lose the first goal, and they just freeze. With Coventry City, there's some kudos and expectation in terms of playing for Coventry City, and the support that goes makes a pressure. Even though we love it, much rather have thousands and thousands and thousands of our own supporters at games, but it does have a little bit of pressure. And sometimes they think, geez, we shouldn't be a goal down here. The supporters then start to lose the temper with them, and they can hear it, because we've got more supporters than them, and that's what then puts them into that anxiety, gives them the anxiety, and puts them in that mode where they stop thinking and talking and organising, and generally that's when we concede another one, and then another one, and it's like, oh my God. And then it just happens. You can shout on as much as you want, they're not listening. So it's very, very difficult to try and put that right. So you've got to try and do that and give them some training that gives them the tools to be able to deal with it as and when it happens. So that's the type of training that they're going to need, which is psychological, motivational, all those types of things that can make a positive difference to us, rather than having performances like Bristol Rovers away.
Yeah, and plus in terms of the fans, what the fans can do. I mean, we had it a couple of seasons ago when we went down from this league, and it just ends up this kind of vicious circle. But I mean, the fans have been great, haven't they, so far? 18 months you've been back, the fans, but they've got behind the team. We've been applauding the lads off. There was one bad performance this year, was when we went to Blackpool. But apart from that, I mean, the lads have all put in a shift, and the fans have been great. But that's important, the fans stick behind the team for that very reason.
It's massive, and we always talk about the 12th man, and that's exactly why we say it. The 12th man is you guys going to games and really supporting the team, which is what you've done. It makes a big, big difference. So the players feel it, they feel that, and then they will work harder. If it goes the other way, human nature now, and the lads, young players, go the other way. They go into themselves and become introverted, and they make bad decisions, worse decisions, and they go hiding. And it's that vicious cycle. So yeah, 100%. Everybody cheering and shouting, and the lads will love it, and it just gives them that big lift. And even though it's difficult for you because you paid your money, you travelled, you stood in the rain in the open stands at Bristol Rovers, for instance. And
well, I didn't. I was just sat in the seats, but they were in the wet. Seriously, I felt sorry for them.
And they don't mean to do it. Nobody means to do that. You know, nobody means to go out and play poorly. They don't go out not to give 100%. You know, sometimes it looks like they're not, but they are. It's just trying to get them back above that mental line that they've gone below.
Right, folks. Any more questions on stage? Any questions? Ollie.
One thing I've noticed watching this season is we do seem to struggle with throw-ins, with the fullbacks often taking them and then the ball coming back and the opposition often end up with possession. Is that something you're looking to work on?
We do. Yeah, we do. Believe it or not. So we had a game. I can't remember where it was. The other week. So the end of the game, we've got 3 throw-ins. Yeah, it was Burton. So we've got 3 throw-ins down that left-hand side. We pick the ball up, we throw it down the line, and we continue to try and throw it down the line. So it's what I was saying about, you know, working on doing the things that build pressure. Now that doesn't build pressure on anybody. That just builds pressure on ourselves because we're giving the ball away. So where's the space? You know, it's the level. This is the frustration. You look at it. How do you create space? Show them how to create space. You know, all those types of things. It takes a while for it to sink in. Then you're looking at better players, you're looking at doing things in a slightly different way. Once they get that, fine. But generally, when everybody's over one side of the pitch, where's the space? Space on the other side of the pitch. So can we work it so it goes out that side and we're out? You know, so it's not rocket science, it's simple. But, you know, it takes a bit of time for it to sink in sometimes. But thanks for the observation.
Rich, got any more questions?
I've got just one follow-up. Obviously, Mrs. Robbins got her Christmas order in yet, right?
Yeah, she's getting nothing, and she knows it. And she knows it. Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right. We'll have to do some Christmas shopping, aren't we?
Just realised it. Mark, just one last question. Wow. It's going to be a big question after that, isn't it, Chelsea? Right, one question. When we were in the back there, somebody's phone rang, yeah, which was embarrassing.
It's a fine, isn't it?
Well, it's a fine in your world, mate. In our world, we don't give 2 hoots because we just got here paying the 10 quid. But anyway, no, the thing is, and the ringtone was grandstand, yeah? And do you know what grandstand was, you two? No, you don't. So, as I said before, this band used to play. And actually, you got a goal every 3.5 games, didn't you? Which you did. I'll look at the stats today. Yeah.
Which stats?
There's Wikipedia, someone might have changed them. But no, the thing is, Mark, where did you have the most enjoyable time in your career?
Everywhere. Quite honestly, everywhere I played. It was brilliant. I just loved my career. Just loved playing. It was the best thing, best job in the world. You know, which is why you say to these lads, just enjoy it. Enjoy every minute. You know, have fun doing it, because the real world's really difficult. You know, I want to try and take them scaffolding and see if they like that, because they might just do a little bit more work. You know, so you know, I enjoyed it everywhere. You know, I was saying to you before, I went to Lilleshall, so at 14 years of age, I went to boarding school, and that was with the FA National School. So I left home, did that 14 to 16. I signed for Man United, went back to do my apprenticeship, signed professional forms when I was 17, loved every minute of that. So I scored 17 goals in my first season, and the youth team coach got me in and he says, "You've done all right this season, but you need to score more." So 17 goals wasn't enough, and the season after that I got 53, and I got 54, and I got 55. So I improved on season, and that was in what used to be the A team and the reserves. So I was playing on a Saturday morning and then possibly on a Tuesday, and scored a high number of goals, which then got me a chance in the first team at 18, and then it was from then till it was 2 years later, really, 18 months later, till I scored my first goal in the first team. So it took me a while, and that was when you look back and you think, right, Fergie gave me 18 months to try and score my first team first team goal, which shows you, now it's it's immediate. You need to have some immediate, otherwise you're gone. No, he's no good. Actually, it's not true. It just takes people different time to get to the level. And once they do that, then the confidence grows and they can flourish. So, that was a big learning curve for me. Looking back, it's a big lesson. And then obviously I had a reasonable career at United. I was still in the first team, and then I left. They sold me to Norwich, and I loved it there. 2.5 years at Norwich. They sold me then to Leicester. I was 3 years at Leicester, and again had a really good time there. But Coventry never tried to sign me. Big Sills, big mistake he was of his.
Was there ever a stiff in Coventry?
I don't know honestly, because I never found out. The first thing I found out, Fergie was the manager there, and I'd been on the transfer list for a little while because I wanted to play. I was 22, and I wanted to go. He called me in. I'd been at home on a day off or whatever, and he said, right, the secretary rang up. I had to go in and see him, and he says, right, there's 3 clubs in for you: Dynamo Dresden, Aberdeen, and Norwich. And bloody hell, did you get me any further away? So I went to Dynamo Dresden for it wasn't a trial, it was just to go and train. I just had a knee operation, cartilage repair. And I went over there just to train, just to get fit for pre-season. I came back, Steve Bruce rang me, he said, what are you doing over there? Norwich want to sign. And then I went back and obviously signed for Norwich. And then from Leicester, I've gone abroad, so I played for FC Copenhagen and went abroad to Greece and Spain and did that, messed about for a bit, and then came back home. Played for Man City for half a season, didn't play, had a double hernia operation, went to Walsall, which is where I spent the year, and then ended up at Rotherham for 3.5 years and had a great time there. Got promoted to the Championship, and that was good, and then finished off at Sheffield Wednesday. So I had Bristol City on loan in between that, but Sheffield Wednesday. So enjoyed every minute of it.
I think you went on loan to Copenhagen,
yeah.
and you played about 6 games, didn't you, there, Mark? But you were like, it was 8 games, but apparently you were this kind of cult hero there now, aren't you? Because you played with, seriously, but I read
There's
this.
a statue and put this mermaid's tail on me or something.
No, seriously, but I read this, but you played up front with this guy, and this is called you Batman.
Michael Manica.
Yeah, that's right, Batman and Robin.
Yeah. That's one of you.
Wow. That's the day.
The players that I played with there were, there was a lad called Bjarne Goldbeck who came over and played for Chelsea and Fulham. And the goalkeeper was Antti Niemi, who played for Southampton, and he was over here for a while. Did he play for Fulham? Yeah. So, but there were some really good, talented players there. Really good experience. Good place to live for a couple of months. Until it got absolutely freezing, then I came back home.
I just thought it was important for some of like the younger lads to realise that, you see these guys in a bygone era. I mean, that's, some career. Having been through Munich when he went.
Bygone era? Theory, mate.
Well, it wasn't in those days. It wasn't even in colour. All this was black and white. Yeah. But good
hairstyles though.
Yeah. Well, you played in Munich, didn't you? When Norwich went and went in the Olympic Stadium.
We beat Bayern Munich in Munich. Beat them 2-1 in the Olympic Stadium. First English team to do so. I got injured in the game actually. I got injured. I was out for 6 months after that game. So I missed the Inter Milan game. But again, brilliant in terms of a club like Norwich. Even then, Norwich were in the top league then, lads. It was the first Premier League season. So season before, obviously, to qualify for Europe was the first Premier League season. I scored the first live hat-trick on Sky. Not a lot of people know that. So, yeah. Enough about me anyway.
Yeah. Right, Mark, I'll have 3 pints of John Smith, please. Right, any more questions? Stage? Mark's got to go now. Round of applause for the gaffer.